Hey, everybody. Welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast hosted by two comedians who are from the Chicago area but live in New York. I am one of them. My name is Adam Mamawala, and Kevin McCaffrey is the other. How's it going, man?
I am the other. What's up? I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm good, man. How was New Orleans?
New Orleans was very fun. My brother, Joseph McCaffrey, who has co-hosted this show, he had his bachelor party in New Orleans this past weekend with a good deal of other Cubs fans because his bachelor party was rolling deep high school level. Like, it was a lot of high school bros. And we grew up, in Hinsdale, Hinsdale Central High School, with also the school of our prospect expert at Cub Prospects, Brian Smith. So
nice.
Yeah. Who also is the Bleacher Nation prospect guy. But yeah, so he was, Brian was not on the bachelor party, but a lot of Hinsdale Central people were. It was fun. Those guys, it's a bunch of bros that go hard. It's a bunch of very nice bros. So I did get to...
No fist fights or anything?
No fist fights. No, it's a lot of benevolent mess. But I think I drank literally for 19 hours in a row on Saturday, which is the longest I've gone in a long time. And this is the first time I've come back. This is the first time in my life, I think, that I've actually felt my liver hurt. Like, I went down a WebMD hole, and I didn't know it was my liver right away, but I was like, there's a weird pain in this one spot. And I looked it up, and there's like, oh, fuck. God dang. And so I'm on the IL a little bit myself right now, more than I almost ever have been. So I'm recovering, but it's okay.
For a second there, I thought you were saying you've been to New Orleans before. This is the first time I've come back, and that was just the end of the statement. Yeah, I just lived down there for a bit, and I eventually,
yeah,
hitchhiked my way back to my home.
Wrangled gators and so, yeah. This is the first time I, actually made the flight. No, it was fun, and also, I am beat up,
Well, yeah. I mean, unless you're truly a mess of a person, you're probably going to drink more in a weekend in New Orleans or Vegas than you would like in a total month or at least a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was just the sheer duration of it was really something. But it was fun. And during the bachelor party, at one point we did a second line, which is when you basically hire your own parade.
Okay. I'm glad that wasn't a cocaine reference.
No, yeah, we did our second line because the first was a bit light, and we had to really bring up the energy. No, it's a parade. You just pay a little money, and then you get a police escort and a band, basically, and they march you around. And my brother's a huge wrestling fan, so he demanded everyone dress in character as a wrestler.
Oh my God.
Which we did. Everybody loved. We picked up several bachelorette parties who just could not get enough of it, so that was all great. And while dressed in wrestling garb, it was a very surreal scene because I was excited and showing people Wilson Contreras' walkoff, so it was that day. So we had a guy in a luchador mask being just screaming about Wilson Contreras in the middle of New Orleans. So so it was fun and a fun week to watch Cub stuff too.
I am all for bat flips followed by against the grain 360s.
Yeah, yeah. It was a thing you had to watch a bunch of times, but I had to watch twice literally to be like, wait, what just happened there? The way he completely turned around was. Well,
I'm hoping the weather in New Orleans was nicer than it was in Chicago over the weekend.
Yeah, it seemed like it was freezing.
It looked like it was 40 and raining the whole weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, and but guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore because the Cubs win all the games, basically.
Is that what this podcast is about?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Sometimes.
I almost forgot.
Yep. Yeah, they win all the games now, so that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna take an 8-2 homestand any day of the week against any teams, but when it involves a sweep of the Cardinals and 2 of 3 against the Brewers. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good.
Yeah, and really the Brewers game that they lost was the only game they've lost that they shouldn't have clearly won in 2.5 weeks. I mean...
Yeah, if not for Kyle Ryan's brain malfunctioning last Monday, they win probably 9 of 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And Strop being actually hurt and not hitting the strike zone. It's like they needed everything to go wrong at the end there. And yeah, they would have won 9 of 10 at least. And that... weirdo game was the only reason Kyle Hendricks still weirdly has a 3-4 record. That tells you about pitcher win-loss, really.
Right.
Because Hendricks could have conceivably been going on a 3 complete game in a row streak at this point. You know,
I mean, that's 3 games in a row that he's gone 8, and he's looked as good as he's looked. This is as good of a stretch as he's had since 2016, for sure, I would say.
Absolutely. It totally is. It would be such a weird category to lead the league in at the end of the year if Kyle Hendricks just leads in innings. But because you don't think of you think of innings guys like Scherzer, bigger dudes, big workhorse dudes. But if Kyle Hendricks just needs 80 pitches to get to the 9th inning every time, then you can throw a bazillion innings and just get rid of the bullpen for his starts.
Well, do you know who leads the league in ERA?
I do know. Why don't you tell me, though?
Johnny Lester.
John Lester, was it down like 1-1-2 or something? And it's
low. It's like 1-2 or 1-3.
It's way down in the ones. Leading all of Major League Baseball in ERA. And it's the peripherals say he should only be very good. But here's the thing about peripherals: they don't tell you what happened. Really, they don't tell you how good you are. They tell you how good that you are, quote unquote, supposed to be. John Lester has been exactly this good. Like he is. Right. And he's one of those guys who, he is, it's funny that he's curmudgeonly about the idea of, analytics and any sort of advanced stat.
That's because it doesn't take his grit into account.
Yeah, exactly. They have yet to have a grit statistic, but if they did, Lester would have a whole lot of it. And Lester did specifically reference millennials, which is funny because he is one. But he is technically a millennial. He's younger than me, and I'm a millennial. So that's funny. But, he is I also think he is a guy who actually clearly has proven to be sustainably better than what is, quote-unquote, peripheral, analytics. He knows what he's doing,
I mean, it goes without saying that he is one of the best Cubs ever and arguably the best free agent signing, not only in the organization but possibly in Chicago sports. But, it's just so amazing to have a guy who's going to go out every 5 days and give you what he gives you, even on the days that he's not good. Yeah. And I feel like Hamels is a similar kind of guy, and it's been so fun watching both of them.
And Quintana's been great. It really, this is exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the year in terms of what you could hope for with this rotation, and that is when they are on. It is. And if they are, even they don't have to all be what Lester's doing right now. They don't have to all be what Kyle Hendricks is doing right now. But basically, if they're all as good as they should be expected to be, or just slightly better than that, if they just all have a pretty good year for themselves, this is a championship level rotation and one of the couple best top to bottom in the league.
Yeah, and that doesn't include Yu Darvish.
And it doesn't include Yu Darvish, and it doesn't in more ways than one right now, because Yu is not that right now. It's like he he has in flashes looked better, but at some point we are going to have to see something beyond looking better in flashes and walking everybody and then striking out everybody else.
Well, and it's it looks even worse. The optics of it are even worse because the way the rotation is constructed right now, Darvish is always pitching the day after Hendricks. So you go out and watch Hendricks, carve people up on 80 or 90 pitches for basically a complete game. And then you see you getting to, I think his last start when Montgomery piggybacked, he threw 97 pitches and couldn't get through 4. Yeah.
Literally, Yu Darvish is throwing a Kyle Hendricks complete game in 3 innings, pitch-wise, every time out there. And, that is tough, and that's a hard comparison because of how on Hendricks is. But you have to be better. We hope he will be, but he has not been so far.
Have you seen the projected matchup this coming Monday at Wrigley Field? Have you heard about this?
No.
Yu Darvish, unless anything changes, will be pitching for the Cubs against a man named Jake Arrieta.
Oh, shit. Well, that's perfect.
So, yeah.
Is that at Wrigley, you said?
That's at Wrigley, yeah.
Okay. Well, sure. Let's see it. If, what a time to turn it around. You can go out there and throw a no-hitter, and, everything will be fine and fixed. But that is...
And we're not... no one's picking on Darvish, but at a certain point, it's just not good enough.
We're not picking on Darvish, but also we are a baseball podcast. People who cover baseball should be talking about what is happening in baseball, and what has happened in Yu Darvish baseballs. He has not been good so far. There's not really anything else to say about it. Like I root for Yu Darvish. He seems like an exceptionally fun guy, and a great dude. But I don't think it does anyone any service to baby him. We're talking about baseball. He has been not good at baseball with the Cubs thus far, including this year. And I hope that changes. And you would think if there's, the Cubs started 2-7, and since then are what, 22-7, I think. So that's better, and that's more of a progression to the mean than maybe even beyond that than anything. And that would be the bright side to look at this. We've had all the others pitchers have pitched so well. Clearly, someone's going to fall back a little bit, and hopefully that'll be matched up with Yu Darvish going to where what we hope he is. But yeah, so far that is the only rotation downside.
Right, and at this point, I mean, we tweeted this, but like, Darvish is basically where Chatwood was last year, where like even if he somehow manages to not give up that much or gets through 4 or 5 innings and gives up 1 run, his pitch counts are so high that it's going to deplete the bullpen. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Cubs are very lucky that they have the depth to be able to piggyback somebody like Montgomery the same way that I feel like they were doing that with Chatwood last year before Montgomery just starting outright.
Yeah.
But then you use Montgomery in that capacity, and that means in a 15-inning game 2 days later, he's not available.
Right. Yeah, totally. And that's and then the next guy you would go do is Tyler Chatwood. If you want, and
who was great.
He's been great. And if you want to feel good about Chatwood or bad about Darvish, compare their overall numbers with the Cubs. You'll see Chatwood's been better overall, which is weird. But including last year, But but it's that. There is so much ceiling on this pitching staff though, and the bullpen has still been good, even though it's such like a mix of guys you don't think of as quote unquote shutdown, but a lot of dudes have been good, and friggin' Brandon Kinsler has been real good the whole time now.
He's been great
this year. Yeah.
I mean, it's almost weird to have a whole week go by and us to be like really trying to search for things to not be happy about.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, and Steve Cishek has stepped in as basically even if he's not the official closer, the de facto closer. He picked up his third save yesterday. So,
and I picked him up in my fantasy league.
There you go. Look, everybody's doing all right. Everybody.
I also drafted John Lester for like $2 in my auction draft because people were like, peripherals.
Yeah. Suck it. Win that money. That's great. And then and Chris Bryant went full on MVP this week. I think that is a development specifically since last Wednesday for us, since the last podcast where Bryant was starting
5 home runs in 8 games. I think it was.
Yeah, and the way he's hitting these home runs, and this is a thing that's straight up eye test. But several of these home runs have just looked like line drive doubles that never came down. It's interesting since Chris is one of the young godfathers of launch angle, but he's hitting the ball like on a line that just never comes down.
The one that he hit on Sunday night that put the Cubs up 4-1, that was almost exactly the same ball that he hit in the World Series in that Game 5 when he ties the game. Like it's same sort of just like rope to left center that lands in the basket.
Totally, yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome to see. He's pretty much. He seems to be all the way back right now, which is great, especially because Rizzo's been down a little bit with a back issue.
Yeah, KB even had a nice pick at first yesterday. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Descalso made like a diving play. It was actually a big play in the game because it was 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Descalso made a diving play up the middle, couldn't get the ball out of his glove to flip it to Javy, and then had to throw it to KB at first, and he made a nice little scoop.
It's great. That's great to see because, I mean, Rizzo is really first base is one of the couple of places where you don't really think of the Cubs having a quote-unquote like pure good backup,
Right.
Obviously, if Chris Bryant's your backup there, which he clearly is, and that makes a lot of sense with
well, usually it's Caratini, I guess, if he's healthy, but obviously he's not.
Right. But yeah, with the depth of what we've got going on in the infield, that it makes sense that, you would shift Bryant over there, and that seems to have worked out nicely. And as you mentioned, Javy there, I guess another news story this week was Basically, there was talk about how the Cubs wanted to send Javy back to the sort of super utility defensive role and have Addison as a full-time regular at shortstop. Did you see that?
That was like a Karl Ravech thing, right? Is that like corroborated in any way?
No, it is not corroborated, and I'm glad you mentioned that it's Ravech, because I think that is an important thing to note, is that Ravech he's a national guy, obviously. That's his job. He works at ESPN. He does the like national level stuff, Sunday night things, but as far as I can tell, his reporting is he hears something from a person, and then that's everything. He hears a thing.
Seems like very speculative.
Very much so. Karl Ravech, if anyone listens to the Baseball Tonight podcast, which I did every day for years and simply cannot any longer.
It's out of pure masochism.
It really, yeah, exactly. It made me angry enough to really work out and get this bod tight. And then now I just can't do it anymore. I don't need that anger in my life. But it is a show with a lot of access. They get good interviews and stuff. But the personalities on the show are fucking nightmares. And the opinions I just cannot stand, and from Olney, certainly, and so much of the time, he's just such a shill for ownership, and specifically, and Ravech will just filibuster with absolutely nothing to say for a really long time, and I think that's what happened here, is he just, he didn't really have much of anything to go on, and it turned into a story, but Theo came out once again. Theo said beforehand, and now Theo has said again, there was a piece in The Athletic today that, no, that's not it. The Javy is an MVP caliber guy. We want him to have a steady place to play, to hit in the lineup, and to play shortstop. Addison Russell will be shortstop if Javy needs a day off or if he's injured, and that's it. Otherwise, Russell is going to be in the rotation, and Joe Madden said this too. The plan is to have Russell in the rotation at second with Descalzo, Bodie, and if he comes back anytime soon, hopefully Ben Zobrist.
Yeah, that's been a weird thing, and it's not really our business what's going on, but you hope that everything's okay, because it seems out of character for him to, there must be something serious going on if he's I don't know when I'll be back.
Well, it's kind of news broke this morning, it seems, that Juliana Zobrist has filed for divorce.
Whoa!
Yeah, so...
Doctor.
Unless it was a doctored document, the divorce filing went up online that Juliana Zobrist has filed for divorce. So it seems like.
Well, first of all, that's terrible, and that sounds awful to go through. Small silver lining: we may not have to hear that walk-up music anymore.
I am mainly happy for you when it comes to that song, for sure. that is. Yeah, it sucks. Zobrist seems like such an amazing dude, and it must be hell for him going through this right now. Also, it made me think, how rare is it? And I think this is a thing that probably, and we don't know all the facts, but the just wild assumption. But how rare is it to see an athlete dealing with a divorce and then ask for time to go on leave to deal with it? You never see that, right?
You don't, because obviously athletes get divorced plenty.
Yes.
And at least from my memory, I can't remember a time that somebody has left and I'm not even saying they shouldn't. I would do the same thing if I had the ability to.
Agreed. And that's the thing. I think there are probably going to be, some meatball opinions out there he's got to take time off. He's on the IL because of a divorce. But it is because he's actually, I think, a human being, and not, and
his heart is injured.
Yeah. And actually cares about it and is trying to, it's not just a thing where it's I got busted cheating. All right, send my lawyer over there. It seems like this is a thing that it's a real ass divorce. It's not just a celebrity, sort of situation. They've been together forever, and so whatever. It sucks for Zobrist, but that is news. It is Cubs news, because it does affect whether he's on the field.
Right.
So,
and I would hope that for any player in that situation, you have to ask yourself what you feel you can do. If being at the stadium and playing baseball is going to be the 3 hours of the day that you can take your mind off of it and it helps you, then do that. But if you think that you're not going to be able to focus on playing a sport, which I can't imagine I would be able to, then go figure your shit out.
Yeah, and it seems like that's what he's doing, and and I fully expect that he would be back later in the year, and that's when we'd want him anyway. And it would be so karmically great if we could get Zobrist back and send Addison Russell, somewhere else. It would be such a good one for one.
Preferably the Sun, but if not, then it's a different team.
Yeah, the Sun, a different team. The Sun, nowhere, just out of baseball. In order. Third choice, different team. Fourth choice, AAA. Those would be.
You know what? The thing about Russell is that even in a situation where he were saying everything right and he was contrite and apologetic and seemingly wanting to change as a person, I still would not want the Cubs to be the team to give him that opportunity. But the fact that he comes back and then, whether he said something that he didn't mean or not, basically comes out and says, well, if fans want to boo somebody who's trying to help them win the World Series, that's on them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's a literal quote. You didn't miss anything there.
Yeah, they're not booing you because you're like, what do you think they're booing you for?
They're not booing you because you're bad at baseball, which, by the way, you also have been.
Which you are. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that could be. But no, they're booing you because you've been a bad human being, and he clearly still doesn't get it, clearly hasn't gotten it at any point, and is also bad at baseball. These things we've been talking about when we say Yu Darvish has just not been good for a long time. We hope he is. That's the same thing with Addison Russell, except he's also a bad person. He has not been good for a long time. He is a good defensive shortstop. He's a good defensive second base. He's very good defensively at those two things. Offensively, he's not good. He has not been since 2016. So I don't know what we're even defending from a baseball perspective here, especially when the Cubs have other options. Ian Happ is a better baseball player. He can't play. He doesn't play shortstop defensively.
Almost certainly a better human.
Yeah, it would be real weird if he wasn't at this point. Ian Happ has cut his strikeouts way down. His offensive numbers have come up, and his walks are way up in AAA. So I hope he is on the fucking doorstep. If we can get Zobrist back and Ian Happ back and not have Addison Russell on this major league roster, I would love it. I don't think
get rid of him or send him to.
Yeah.
When you say send him to AAA, is that a support group that stands for Abusive Assholes Anonymous?
Very well done. Yes, it is now. Yeah. Go do.
That's the T-shirt. That's the new T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. Addison Russell has been optioned to AAA. Abusive Assholes Anonymous. Addison, or even not anonymous. We got Addison works for that too. Yeah. So that's that. Really, those are the only bummer in a really good week. Those are the only bummer things, really, is that Addison exists and Zobrist is going through a very tough time. And yeah.
And I can also say with some level of confidence that for however long we do this podcast, I can't imagine there ever being a time where you and I recap a week in which there were 3 walk-off home runs.
Yeah, that's true. It's just hard to have that many games, and walk-off, it's hard to have that many home games that end like that.
To do that in one homestand, I mean, it was 3 of 5 games that they hit walk-off home runs. I don't think, I would have to look it up, but I would guess that most teams do not have 3 walk-off hits in a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think hits. Maybe hits probably, but yeah, there are definitely teams that don't have 3 walk-off bombs in a year for sure, and in a month, like in a much less a week, which is great. And Heyward had the other one. Yeah, Heyward, KB, and Willie were great ones. And if you have to pick a favorite, you got to go Wilson, I guess, right? But they were all a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean and for KB, that was his first walk-off since, was it end of 2016?
Is it the Colorado one?
No, that was earlier that year.
Okay.
Or that might have even been 2015.
Oh, was it?
It was the one against the Indians, I think.
Okay.
It was like an August game against the Indians.
Okay.
He hit like a little one to right field that just kept carrying.
Nice. I also want to say this past week, speaking of Wilson, happy birthday, Wilson. And he also posted an Instagram post that was a photo of himself and said, happy birthday to me. And I loved it. It's so great. It's not.
I'm all in on Wilson.
It's just.
Always have been, always will.
It's just it's just so sincere. It was a Cubs off day. He had a birthday. He posted a baseball pic and said, happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, indeed, Wilson Contreras, to you, and happy birthday, Abuelita, who he thanked links in every one of his friggin' posts too. It's lovely. Yeah.
Well, when we talked last week about I had asked you some sort of weird bargain about like would you take the Cubs splitting against the Marlins or even like losing 3 of 4 if it meant they swept the Brewers, which we said yes, probably because of the value of divisional games. But I mean,
right.
You go into that 10-game stretch saying if you can win both series against the Brewers and Cardinals and take 3 of 4 against the Marlins, you're thrilled with that. And that would be 7-3, and they won 8 of the 10.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they've now finished their season series with the Marlins and won 6 of those 7 games, that is what you do against the Marlins.
Yes.
And I feel like that has not been the case the last couple of years, that the Cubs have been beating the teams that they should. So it's nice to see that.
Yeah, totally. Put that one chunk of games in your pocket, be done with it. That's awesome to see. And right now, as we're speaking, the Cubs have by far the best run differential in the National League. They're the best team in the National League by record, by win percentage, and they are only behind the Astros overall when it comes to that, which I think is sort of how the world is supposed to be right now. Because since 2015, the Astros and Cubs have been the 2 best teams in baseball. To me, I think they've been the two representative teams of this era, and right. I think that would be a very appropriate World Series this year to have those teams face off against each other.
I imagine other baseball fans would be not into it because it's a couple teams who have won recently, but Cubs against anybody, I'm into.
Of course, yeah, exactly. So it's when I saw that's how things stood right now, I was like, okay, that seems like the right place for things to be. Yeah, and the Cubs doing it in a much better division than than really the NL East or West right now, because the NL West has had some surprising contending where the Diamondbacks are above 500. They're not gonna be.
But the Padres have been better than people thought.
Right. Diamondbacks and Padres have both been better than people thought, so that division's even played up a little bit. And then in the East, the Nationals are still bad. How is that? How is that?
Yeah, I think Martinez may be on bought time.
I kind of never understood the mystique of Dave Martinez to start with. I don't have a ton of hate for him. I mean, not great stuff with Ryan Sandberg. Google it, but
I actually don't know about that.
Yeah, it's a little cheaty situation.
Okay.
Yeah. But Dave Martinez not doing well in Washington. They're just going to hire Dusty Baker again. I hope they friggin' do.
Yeah. Well, he's good at least to get them to the playoffs and then lose in the first round. So
that's all I need. Yeah.
Better than what they're looking at right now.
Totally.
And you and I will be there on Sunday for Cubs-Nats Sunday Night Baseball game.
That's right. Yeah, Away Games road trip.
We're driving to Washington just to not listen to A-Rod.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to listen in person. What can you put a cost on not listening to A-Rod? You can. We'll invoice you.
Whatever gas and parking costs.
Yes, exactly. But Away Games road trip. We're going to be in Washington for Sunday Night Baseball, so that's going to be fun. And we're going to also, I found out, a comedian friend of mine. I think maybe you know him too, Ramin Mostafavi.
Yeah.
He's going to be at the Sunday game as well. So
there we go.
With another comic. Is there anything else to get into before we go a week ahead looking?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been a great week, and this has been. I perhaps I'm wrong, but I can't remember a stretch in either of the past 2 years that I've felt this good about statistically, they have not had a stretch this good since 2016.
Right, totally.
Not even close to it.
No.
I mean, last year was just weird all year,
mm-hmm.
and you never really felt like they hit their stride despite the fact that they won that many games.
Yeah.
And 2017 was a slog for the first half, and then they needed to play catch-up. And other than maybe that stretch like right out of the All-Star break when they got back into it in 2017, I can't remember a time where the Cubs and I think about the last 2 years, there was the stretch last year where the Cubs went on maybe a 7-2 road trip, that one in Detroit and everything. But even then, it was like you never felt this good about the team. So.
No, yeah, you felt like I think you had to feel in a super unscientific way, but you had to feel like you were getting away with something, or every game was dicey. And right now, I feel like when the Cubs don't win, I feel like, wait, what happened there? You know what I mean? It just seems like I actually do expect them to win.
Yeah. Well, and I'm just looking at their recent schedule. The Cubs have not lost back-to-back games since April 25th and 26th.
Oh, that's great.
So that's, about 15 to 20 games in which they have. And that's the thing. It's like I think they had a crazy stretch like that in 2016 where they either, I don't know if it was that they didn't lose back-to-back games or that they maybe didn't lose 3 in a row, basically the whole season.
Right. Yeah.
But that's kind of how this team feels. It's like when they lose, it's surprising, but you also get over it quickly because they're not losing again.
It's a rotation full of stoppers, is one thing. And the lineup has just been incredible. There are 4 guys in the top 20 by WRC plus. Which is it's my favorite sort of overall stat for offense. And there's 4 guys who are in the top 20 right now. It's Javy, Wilson, KB, and Rizzo right now. And so that is just, I mean, when you have 4 guys in your lineup who are that dominant, 4 top 20 offensive players, you're going to win a whole lot of games, especially when 4 of your 5 starters are throwing like number ones.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yeah, and they've just been consistently winning games and winning series. That's the other thing that's been super impressive is that it has now been since the season or the series loss in Milwaukee at the end of that horrible road trip to start the season that they since then have not lost a series.
Yeah.
I think they're 9-0-1.
It's awesome, and it's a good way to just keep piling that win number up and just consistently broadening yourself between yourself and 500 and jumping ahead of the league is great. And as we are here right now, the standings in the NL Central, Cubs 2.5 ahead of Milwaukee and 3.5 ahead of St. Louis and 4 ahead of Pittsburgh. And Cincinnati, that everyone was so freaked out about how good they were going to be, they are pretty deep in 5th. So, So this is it's great. It's cool right now.
So we're recording this shortly before it comes out, so it's already after the Hendricks dominant performance last night. So that means that by the next time we talk, there will have been 2 more games at Cincinnati, 3 at Washington, and I guess probably either 1 or 2, depending on when we talk the next time, against the Phillies. So what are you looking at? How are you feeling for the next week or so? I mean, I think we've been pretty consistent in saying the Cubs have been good and will continue to be good. But any bold predictions? Any sweep predictions coming up?
I'll say sweep the Reds. So
all
that
right.
I mean that's almost certainly a loss tonight. Then, but that's if you take.
Well, it is Darvish tonight.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, yeah, maybe this is where, it's not like he's had problems with home runs or anything for that ballpark. So, or walks with a lineup with Votto and Jesse Winker and guys who take walks. But anyway, let's say we beat up a significantly worse team, Cincinnati. 2 wins there, 2 of 3 against Washington. And
one of those is the one we're at.
Mm-hmm. And fuck it, 3 of 4 from Philly, which, So I'll say, before we talk next time, I will say the Cubs will have gone,
was that 5-2, maybe?
Yeah, 5-2. Just 5-2 weeks from here on out.
Well, and hopefully it's more of a more of the same situation versus due for a bad game. But you and I will be seeing Kyle Hendricks on Sunday night.
Oh man, I dig that.
Barring any rain issues in between now and then.
Hendricks on Sunday Night Baseball. With the run he's on right now, he should be featured on Sunday Night Baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's these are some sexy matchups. You've got so Friday is Hamels and Scherzer. Saturday is Lester and Strasburg, and Sunday is Hendricks and Hellickson. Hellickson's not the sexy part of that one, but
no, but that's fine. Hendricks brings enough sexy that Hellickson doesn't need to be involved at all. So
right, and then you have Darvish Arrieta on Monday, and then on next Thursday you've got Lester and Nola lined up.
Dang, yeah, that's a lot of there's a lot of good pitchers out there.
There are.
The Cubs are going to face a lot of good pitching this week. That looks like. But it's a lineup that's been ready to handle it. So let's hope Rizzo gets healthy and everyone else stays how they are.
Yeah, and it would be a real bummer for Dave Martinez if he gets fired leading into or during the weekend against the Cubs.
It would be weirdly appropriate. If for Dave Martinez's last game, the Cubs should bring Ryan Sandberg out to take the lineup card out.
Did he sleep with Sandberg's wife or something?
Yeah, I believe that's the deal.
Oh boy,
allegedly.
Golden Tate situation.
Yeah, Golden Tate with Russell Wilson situation. Was that right?
Yeah.
Follow us at awaygamespod on Twitter and Instagram. See when we'll post stuff from our travels to Washington. So at awaygamespod, Twitter, Instagram, awaygamespodcast@gmail.com. Adam, did I miss anything else?
I don't think you did.
Great. Neither did the Cubs this week.
No, they didn't. Let's go win some more games.
Hell yeah. Bye.